Hi everybody, my name is Emily Stamets, and I am a storyteller. I'm also a crafter. In fact, I'm wearing 3 things that I knit for myself. Are there anyone else out there who's a crafter, a knitter? I see somebody, we're artists. Anyone who's a maker? There's a couple of us. Awesome, I see you. It's such a delight, I feel, during the holidays to be able to give and receive things that have been made for us or made for other people with love. And this story today is my gift to you this holiday season. It was crafted with love, and I hope that you receive it that way. This is an original story called A Clara Original by myself. It was inspired by a poem called Purple by Alexis Rotella. In a tiny little town, a little bit like Julian, on a street a little smaller than most, in the smallest apartment on the block lived Mama and her little girl, Clara. And I've lost it, everybody. Send good vibes for the story to me. There we go. On the day our story begins, here we are. Clara walked home from school. She pulled off the necklace where she kept her front door key and let herself in the front door. She locked it behind her, kicked off her shoes, put her backpack on the ground, and skipped over to her favorite place in the world, her art corner. Now, Clara may have been small and lived in a small apartment on a small street in a small town, but Clara had a huge imagination. And when she sat at her art table, she felt her imagination begin to spark. She felt it up here first, like a glittery electric cloud in her head. And then it traveled down through her heart and down her arms until it tingled in her fingers. And when Clara felt her imagination tingle in her fingers, she dragged over her ginormous box of crayons. Now, this box had started its life as a Costco box of crackers. It was very, very big. And it was filled with crayons of all colors of the rainbow. Colors that you never even thought to imagine about were right there in Clara's crayon box. And on the other side of her art table, there was a stack of papers this high, with papers of all different colors. And some of them had words and lines and numbers on them. And these were Clara's favorite. These were the ones that Mama brought home from work. And when Clara imagined on them, if you held it up to the window, you could see both Clara's imagination and her Mama's work, like 2 sides of the same story. Now today, the day that our story begins, Clara feels her imagination tingle in her fingers. She drags over her crayon box. She gets a fresh piece of paper. She digs her hand into her crayon box and she lets her imagination take over. She draws a unicorn with 3 periwinkle horns. She draws a schoolhouse with rainbow-colored stripes. And she draws a planet populated with lemon yellow bees. When Mama tucks her in that night, Clara shows her the day's imaginings. And Mama says, "Oh, honey, the horns, the stripes, the bees." When Mama says, "Oh, honey," Clara's belly fills up like with warm pink soup. Now today is a special day. It's the first day of December. And what happens at the end of December? Who can tell me? Christmas! Christmas happens at the end of December. So Mama asked Clara, "Clara, what do you want for Christmas the most?" And Clara said, "I want the biggest box of crayons in the world." Mama said, "Bigger than this whole room?" And Clara said, "Yes, bigger than this whole apartment building." And Mama laughed and she said, "Well, I don't know if that's gonna fit on Santa's sleigh, but we can ask, and I'm sure that Santa will do his best." Then Clara thought a thought that she had never thought before. "Mama," she asked, "what do you want for Christmas the most?" "Oh, honey, Mama said, and Clara's belly filled up all warm and pink. I hadn't thought about it, but do you know what I think I would like more than anything in the whole world? A Clara original. Clara said, a Clara original? Like a drawing? Mama said, oh no, not just a drawing, a piece of art. And she did her hands like this, like a big sign across the museum, a piece of art. And Clara giggled. She said, okay, Mama, I will make you the best, most original, Clara original piece of art that's ever existed. But Mama, what should this picture be of? And Mama said, oh, well, it could be anything. I will love my Clara original no matter what. Then Mama kissed her goodnight and turned out the lights. The next day, Clara came home from school. She let herself in, kicked off her shoes, dropped her backpack to the ground, and bunny hopped over to her art table. She sat down and she imagined Mama saying, oh, honey, when she saw this best, most original piece of Clara original piece of art. Her belly filled up all warm and pink, and she felt her imagination spark and glitter. Her fingers tingled, and she dragged over her crayon box, and she got a fresh piece of paper, and she drew a dragon with a mango tango orange body, and vermilion wings, and fuchsia flames that swirled around a clump of words and numbers from Mama's work. Clara finished, and she dropped the vermilion, the fuchsia, and the mango tango back in the box, and she studied her most original dragon. But now that she looked at it, the body was a little bit kind of wonky, and the flames were a lot lopsided, and Clara could not imagine Mama saying, oh honey, about this crooked dragon. She would have to try again tomorrow. The next day, Clara came home from school. She let herself in, kicked off her shoes, put her backpack on the ground, and she bounced over to her art table. She sat down and she concentrated. And it took a little while, but finally, her imagination sparked and glittered. She dragged over her crayon box. She got a fresh piece of paper, and her imagination took over. Clara drew an apartment building with electric lime walls and antenna going out every which way across the roof. And she drew all of the people who lived there. Unmellow yellow and tickle me pink, purple heart, and Caribbean green. And they were all holding hands and dancing and smiling. Clara finished, and she put lime, green, yellow, pink, and purple back in the crayon box, and she studied her most original apartment building. Now that she looked at it, the walls were kind of a little curvy, and the antennas were sort of crooked, and the people's smiles were a lot lopsided. And Clara could not imagine Mama saying, oh honey, about this wonky apartment building. She would have to try again tomorrow. The next day, Clara came home from school. She let herself in, kicked off her shoes, dropped her backpack by the door, and she walked over to her art table. She dragged over her crayon box, got a fresh sheet of paper, and she concentrated even harder than yesterday. And it took even longer than yesterday, but finally, her imagination sparked and glittered. Her fingers tingled. She dug into her crayon box, and she drew... No, her fingers tingled. She dug into her crayon box, and she dug into her crayon. She drew... Do you know, I have completely forgotten what Clara draws this third time. Who knows? Does anybody know? Does anyone have a guess? Who can help me out? What does Clara draw on this third day? What do you think? What do you think? You are so right. She draws a Christmas tree. She draws a pine tree, Christmas tree, with vermilion ornaments and gold glittery lights and pink, these things, garlands. Yeah? She finishes and she drops the pine green, the vermilion red, the glittery gold and the pink back into her crayon box, and she studies her most original Christmas tree. Now that she looks at it, kind of does a little bit of this all the way at the top, and like the ornaments are all sort of like more on one side than the other, and Clara cannot imagine Mama saying, "Oh honey," about this lopsided Christmas tree. Clara tried again and again, day after day. Her imagination took longer and longer to spark. Her crayon box got lighter and lighter, and her stack of papers got shorter and shorter and shorter, until finally it was the day before Christmas, Christmas Eve. It was Clara's last chance to draw Mama the best, most original, Clara original piece of art. Clara shuffled over to her art table. She pulled over her crayon box. It was almost empty. All that was left was all the little tail ends of each crayon, like the size of a pebble. And she pulled over her last piece of paper. It was pure white, it was blank on both sides. And Clara concentrated really hard. And she concentrated again. And she tried to imagine Mama saying, "Oh, honey," but she just couldn't even hear the words in her mind, and her belly did not fill up with warm pink soup. Her imagination did not glitter, and it did not spark. Her fingers did not tingle. Finally, Clara sighed the deepest sigh. And she did the only thing she could think of to do. The next morning, after Mama had sipped the last sip of her Christmas coffee, she said, "Oh, okay, now I'm ready for presents." And Clara's belly sunk with heavy, outer space gray sludge. She sludged her way over to the Christmas tree, and under the tree was a box. It was about this tall and like this big. It's the kind of box that you get when you buy a brand new shirt at a department store. And on this box were 3 different bows. There was a giant blue one, a tiny gold one, and a big fluffy one that was white with stars on it, all stuck on the box. And across the box, in 7 different colors of crayon, where Clara had taken those last nubs of crayon and put them down on the box and pressed her finger down hard and dragged it across to write in giant capital letters, "Mama." She lifted this box up, and it felt as heavy as a grown-up's bowling ball in her arms. She sludged over to Mama, and she hoisted the box into Mama's lap. She stared at Mama's knees because Clara could not lift her head to look at Mama in the face. But Mama fluffed those bows and ran her fingers across the lines of crayon. She lifted off the lid of the box, and inside was a single sheet of paper. She lifted it out. It was pure white, blank on both sides. "Oh, honey," said Mama. And Clara, her fingers twisted in her Christmas nightie, she said, "I'm sorry, Mama." But Mama touched her head and in a soft voice said, "The snowfall. How clean and bright and beautiful." Thank you, and Merry Christmas, everybody.